did you catch that then, obviously? Woody, did you catch that then, that we weren't aware?
That's okay.
And you, by all means, obviously, next time.
That's all right. I explained the system of favors, and now you guys know.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
For community, you can always ask people not to touch it. You have
Sure, we just had no reason not to, we just didn't know. And it wasn't that we didn't know, it's just I think we were just so in depth in conversation, we were just kinda like,
Can you
No,
sure?
out there, Woody was telling me that little red carp his can go at least 120, so he's looking for,
Oh, that's been broadcast now.
well,
Oh, wait a minute, we have the police here.
I don't.
seriousness right there.
It's a teenage car now, you can tell it's got acne.
A little pity.
No. What's the, oh, okay.
Do you have that email I sent with the link to the Google?
I do.
Do you have that?
You want me to forward it to you?
Or is it gonna have you just
What's-
pull it up? Is it-
I don't have my
What's the
connection to the
password
internet.
for
I'm
the
sorry, I
guest?
just save all the PDFs.
What's the password for the guest Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Thank you.
You got it, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
The last day.
Oh.
Saturday.
Craig, you there? Hello? Craig?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Okay, you're on my phone right now. We're having some technical difficulties. So I'll try and put you in the middle.
No worries, I can.
So,
Jerem, why don't you shut your video off? Because it's just making it a little bit laggy.
yep.
And I think if I just hear you rather than the video, I think that'll help the connection.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, I'm not even on the Wi-Fi. How about now, Craig?
I can hear you.
Okay, let me get on the Wi-Fi here. Maybe that's what it is your Wi-Fi is lagging, Jeff. Because my phone won't.
It could be. I have to restart. I'm forced to restart my computer. That's what's taking so long.
Still good, Craig?
Yes, I can hear you.
There
Okay.
we go. It's- Like a crackling, yeah, or like a
Yeah, I hear that.
You do.
a faint thumping,
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, even I can hear that.
I'm just making sure it's not the old brain.
That's been doing it since we came in. None of these were on.
I tried clicking buttons, believe me.
Yeah.
Well, I found the remote.
Like,
Then we're sitting in
Can't
weird
handle
places, and he's just all on his own.
Now that you can hear it, you can't undo that, can you?
What's it?
So now that you
Can't
hear
get it out of your
you
head
can't
now, I
undo
know.
it now.
That's how it worked for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But they used the wrong markers on there or something, or?
I don't know. Sometimes
Already been left on there for a few days.
we need some special stuff and some grease, elbow grease.
Yeah, because my phone won't connect to the Wi-Fi.
start, or does he need to be like on camera?
I don't think he needs to be on camera. I mean, he's on my phone right now, so.
Okay.
We could start, but we may as well let Jeff finish, and is that just for him, or is there stuff to be projected?
I don't have anything planned to be projected, it's just for him.
Give it a couple of minutes, see if Jeff can get it.
There we go. You could probably hang up now so it doesn't echo.
Okay, I'm out.
Right?
Craig, see ya.
Did you call him or was he logged into the?
He's logged in, so I'm on there right now.
Did you leave it, Jeremy?
Got a lot.
Okay. There we go.
You're okay, Craig?
I can hear perfect. It's working well. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Loud and clear, buddy.
You have a big booming voice now. Everyone can hear you.
Perfect.
So, all right. Well, now that we got that working, call it 5:39. We'll start this special session. Yep. Call to order. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we need, I guess do we go through the whole common motions and seconds and stuff, or?
Or the first item is an action item. The next.
Okay.
Approval of the-
So we need approval of the agenda, so do we do that one? Okay.
Yep.
Need a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Does everyone have a copy of the agenda? All right.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sonstegard,
I'll second.
second by Kayla Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business, need approval of the 2025 through 2027 superintendent contract. Need a motion and a second to approve the 2025 through 2027 superintendent contract.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sonstegard, second by Kayla. Now we can have discussion.
So after we met with him, we all agreed at that point and there were no other changes since then, I'm assuming? Or,
There were been no changes since I sent out the revised contract. Everybody get a chance to look at it? Are there any questions whatsoever?
No.
I guess. Yeah. And was there a copy of that posted somewhere? Okay. Okay. So that's in the minutes, so should be good. Any other questions, comments? Anything from you, Craig?
No, I have nothing to add, Boyd. I am having trouble hearing everyone but you.
Okay.
It's, if you could maybe just put the laptop more towards the middle and,
Okay.
Sorry.
Nobody really said anything, just approvals and things like that, so you haven't missed much. All right.
And then we need to,
Any more discussion?
nope.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now what do you, what should we do, Jeff? Should we close that and go into the discussion of the bonds, or does it matter?
You don't have to vote it.
Okay, we'll just leave it open then.
Action item.
All right. The next item is discussing the scope of proposed building bonds and capital projects levy. Anybody got anything?
I see Billy is here, and I don't know if we want to start with him, and then he can leave or whatever. I have nothing really for you other than just, oh, you are? Okay, I just was trying to, you wanted to get out of here. I just had a couple questions on the technology portion, that's it, so.
Have at it. Nobody said anything, so.
It's just to help me understand the 300,000 is being allocated towards the technology out of the 400, correct? So it sounds like it's $400,000 annual levy, and 300,000 plus toward comprehensive technology needs beyond just hardware.
Don't answer yet.
That's the average that goes every year.
Sure, and the cover critical end of life says, yeah, I'm not questioning the number, so to speak. I'm just, and Jeff, I'm sure you can answer a lot of this, but when this is on the referendum, a lot of people have said, well, we'd like to hear from the IT head.
Okay.
And that's simply what this is.
Well,
And-
it's, we're at 10 years on most of the network, so it needs to be replaced. That probably is going to be around 100,000 over 2 years, maybe.
Sure.
We have over 500 Chromebooks, probably we have to cut that number down to probably 6 or 450. We're probably looking at over $500 per Chromebook. That includes the licensing for the Google Chrome. And with purchasing a large amount, we'll have to pay extra to have them white glove, which means that they'll put it in our system because we want to have the time in order to do that myself.
Sure.
Normally we were on a schedule of about 80 to 100 Chromebooks, which was the about the ones that I had in the summer. We have labs that are now needing to be replaced. They were on a 5 to 7 year replacement. They've now been moved to 7 to 10. And we are doing what we can to reuse the lab across 2 labs and deal with the replacement of computers. About 10 computers that need to be replaced there because they won't upgrade. They will upgrade to Windows 11, but it's at our own risk. We do not want to take on that risk. A lot of we have 15 switches in the building. Of that 15, I think I've replaced 5. They are all remaining there. Full time. And so we don't have to replace that. Sure. On average, that's usually what we run with subscriptions to different programs. We have done what we could to eliminate a lot of programs, and we've done what we could to lower the price by choosing different programs. We do not have the same functionality, but they have the functionality that features. Other than that, we have a phone system that is 2 years or 3 years end of life. We have phones that are over, well, about 25 years old. On that phone system, we can't replace it. If we need to replace it in emergency, we'll have to find a phone number. There are some other tricks that may or may not work well. Sure. Trial. We have a mass notification system that is still based on 1995 technology. Probably needs to be changed. A lot of teachers need air in their room, screening, that sort of thing. So there's all of them. Else that need to be replaced. Clocks are getting to the point where they're going to need to be replaced. In fact, our master clock system is probably needing to be replaced. Again, it's end of life. But as long as we still can get the servers, primary domain control, of the 7 servers, 1 is new, and that's our primary domain controller that controls all the user privileges on the network. The virtual environment that controls all the remainder of those servers is on 2012 technology and needs to be replaced due to its vulnerabilities because of the operating systems right on, and the hardware is also down. So we're kind of running on a wish and a prayer, crossing our fingers, hoping everything still holds together as much.
And that's kind of my question is, with all that said, will that get us to just, like, is that all just going to be a Band-Aid and that, or like, will that do what you think needs to be done? Or is that number not enough? Or is it right there where you want it to, like?
That is right where it needs to be.
Okay.
We're going to be Band-Aiding until we get that kind of funding. If this referendum doesn't pass, we'll be relying on E-rate. E-rate is based on the family benefits application, formerly known as free and reduced lunch. The more people we can have get in there, the more money that we have. Currently, we are at 75% reimbursement, so we only pay 30% of 25% of what we get. If you drop below 70%, we probably won't be getting it.
Sure.
So that would be 100% on us. The number that I provided there was figuring we will not be able to.
Okay.
If the trends follow as they have for the last 10 years, we are in Republican administration. Administrations do not contribute to the FCC program as much as Democrats. So I think we'll probably, George Bush was 900 million. Obama was 2.3 billion. I think that's pretty much what Biden was too. I don't remember what Trump's first term results were, but it was around a billion.
Sure.
So it goes to the schools that have the highest need, which is determined through the education benefits. It's very important that our parents actually fill out that application, and just to get our numbers out helps with a lot of things. Technology, all sorts of things that helps with this. Technology is my main concern, so that is my
No, fair enough. That helps me understand a lot more, especially with the phone stuff. And then I just wanted to, I guess, articulate that 300,000 was going to get to where you think that the school, I mean, I understand technology dates quicker than anything else, so I just didn't want to be where we're going back to the public and saying, oh, 4 more years, you know, we still can't survive on technology because it's already outdated and we didn't get enough. An example.
Yeah, where that number kind of sits is not including any additional funding that we can find to pay for that.
Okay.
But that is where we're at right now. If we wait to replace the Chromebooks until the referendum passes, that's the number we're going to be looking at 250 Chromebooks first year and probably 250 Chromebooks. Okay. Usually about 10% breakage with the Chromebooks and then repairable. Within the first year of manufacture repairable, after that, we repair them ourselves. We either send them off or we can repair them in-house. Typically, we repair them in-house. Easier, quicker, cheaper.
I think the only other thing I had was, I know there was a time where it seemed like a lot of the cameras weren't working. Is that still kind of the case in the school? Or like, is that like a whole nother, because I'm assuming that isn't cheap as well, I guess why.
Well, the cameras were redone, or added two, I guess, 2018, I believe. Several of those cameras are a little older than the system. We've already had to replace the NVR in 2021. Cameras do not have good resolution because of when they were made, basically. There are other caveats, like daylight savings time. After daylight savings time, the cameras don't report correctly until somebody physically goes in there and does that.
Sure.
That has not been done yet here because it's not a priority at this time. We do not have the staff to do that.
I don't know. Well, I myself don't have anything else, but you answered a lot of my questions. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, and I don't think that generally the public has any idea
No, and
of
that's,
how much things cost, you know,
well, that's just the question
how
that
much a
arises.
server costs.
Is we're trying to secure and go after a technology referendum, and I think people just say, well, what does Nate know about technology? And I can only ask Jeff some questions before we both don't. So it's for something like this, it's just good to have at least once, or when there's something like this on the agenda. So I appreciate you coming.
If we did not have internet in the building connected to our network, we wouldn't have to worry too much about replacing the switches.
Sure.
We do. And in the end-of-life devices are there on the network, they're a vulnerability. No longer receiving updates, so they're no longer patching any vulnerability. Right now, we do have a pretty good robust firewall protecting all our potential hazards. But that's one thing, that firewall is 2020. It's one of the last things that I was able to update before the spending increase.
I've got nothing else.
Craig, anything?
No, I just probably would just ask that whether or not there's anything in any plan to improve the audio system, because I couldn't hear much of what he was saying, and I see we only have 2 other folks online streaming it, and I can understand why, which was a bit frustrating. No, and judging by the extent and the length of the conversation, I'm sure there's a lot of good answers there, and I too echo it, and I appreciate that you came, and I would like to see, I'd like to see you there more often because we never know when we might have questions regarding kind of what's going on, and it's nice to have everyone, department heads, so to speak, just there to get some of those quick answers for the public and for the board. So thank you.
I could speak to the audio system. I'm assuming you're talking about the ITV room.
Yes, right now.
Yeah, that was put in 2012 for $1,500.
Fair enough.
Currently, I just replaced the fans in the amp, and they're probably not going to last much.
You probably couldn't hear that. Could you hear that, Craig?
I can hear better when I can hear okay from the audio from the laptop that I'm coming through, but if you switch to the YouTube channel, it's actually more difficult to hear.
Yep, he said
so that was
is working on
2012 and $1,500. That's what I heard.
You did hear that then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like it could use an upgrade. So, all right. Well, anything else? Anything from you, Jeff?
If you have questions, I guess I would,
Yeah, that
when
answer.
you sell this, when I go out to the public, I think looking at the stuff that others we've gone over, packet, and I think we had it on our website, and we had a number of referendum information. But you can see from 2021 how the gap between inflationary and actual state funding, the gap is extremely wide, steeper. It's about $1,356 per student difference between what it's costing the school, and everyone that has a household and you're buying stuff, and the expenses, they go up, and the revenue doesn't, and that's what's happening in the school. So it's over $1,500 per student. If you put that towards our 421 students, it's over $570, almost $571,000 a year in revenue that we're not getting from the state to close that gap. So, and schools don't have the luxury of increasing taxes. Other government entities within Lake Woods County and other counties do, whether it's the county or the city. I just read an article about the city raising some of their, so, because they have expenses. People in the public need to understand, schools don't do that. So when you're paying, what was it, $8-10 for a dozen eggs, the school's paying that too. And we don't have, like I said, we have to go to the voters, and we're the only public governmental entity that has to do that. And when you have your property values being changed, which we have no control over, and you have other taxes going up, it's easy to say no to schools, but think of the harm that we're doing to our community. If we do not pass this, we're not going to have technology, or if we're going to have technology, we might have to cut somewhere else. And the bottom line is going to end up in more kids in the classroom, laying off staff, reducing our busing some more. We can't replace our buses. And we have an investment in a school building in this community that if we don't start making some of these fixes on it, you get a leak in your roof, in any building or any home, the damage just gets worse. So, plus I'm going to add, this school district has one of the lowest school property taxes in northern Minnesota. So, and if you look at how the building's been cared for, we've done a good job, but it's 30 years old and things start to wear out. We've done our best to keep things well maintained. So I can't stress enough how important it is that we pass this. Keep the investment in the school building and keeping our class sizes small and keeping programs for kids. We haven't got programs yet. That's next. So I just hope that the community keeps that in mind as we start looking at next fall. And I don't think to ask for what we have presented here is asking a lot. We're asking for the bare minimum just to make the structural changes and to keep programs going. So I'll step off the soapbox. Stand for any questions.
No, that was a great soapbox.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
All right, any more discussion?
There's nothing we're approving.
No, this is just discussion. I mean,
Well, we just need
We have to,
a reduction row so that we can on 19.
Yes.
This is the last discussion for 19.
What would be
Yep.
nice to know walking out of here
The number.
is the number. I proposed $400,000 for the capital projects levy. Keep in mind, a lot of that has to do with the dollars Billy was talking, and we did it's 5-year projection, because 8 years from now, computers, we don't know what they're going to cost, but based on 5 years, that comes out of the general fund. If we can pass a capital projects levy, which has the least impact on local taxpayers, those dollars that are left in the general fund are used to keep class sizes small, to keep programs programs to keep the buses going down, but fuel going up and stuff like that. So it's not just, oh, we're buying computers for kids, do they really need it? No, it's doing that, but it's also helping us preserve our class sizes, keep the staff we have. And that's something that you need to, when you start publicizing, make sure that people understand this is, eventually it gets back to kids, classes, programs. So $4 million bond levy, and I've listed in the recommendation, the projects, and they're basically the same projects that we identified before. We've gone through that process. So I recommend that we stay with that. And then the 400 capital projects levy. And over 10 years, that's another $4 million. So we're looking at about $8 million over 12 years. The difference is the bonds that are gathered at once. These are your construction projects, and then we make payments on the bonds. The capital projects levy, we collect that ahead of time. And even if we collect 400,000, most schools you would have a designated fund for that. So it's not like you have to spend 400,000 every year. It's you have a plan with each year what you need to purchase, and you can run a fund balance. So if there's something that we really want this but we can't afford it, well, we'll spend X, Y, Z, and we'll set this so much aside for the next so many years to make that big purchase. So it's, you have some flexibility. So it's not just every year forking money to buy computers. It's much more than that. It's really giving us the influx of revenue for the district to operate as it is right now.
Jeff, can I ask you one question quick?
Sure.
There was just something that stood out to me when you made the comment about with the technology levy, we'd be able to, purchase pieces of technology such as the Chromebooks with that fund. And if we didn't have the levy, you said then we'd have to take it out of the general fund. Just so there's not confusion, just to be clear, help me understand that. The reason there isn't enough money to support these projects sitting in the general fund.
General fund.
Yes, but if we did not get the levy, it's not like we can, there's a huge piggy bank there right now to go.
No. Then the board is going to be deciding how many Chromebooks can we afford, and can we afford a bus, or do we have to look at cutting some classes? Because right now we've froze our spending. So at some point you're going to have to update
just to piggyback off that, with the spending being frozen, there's also some critical positions we currently have posted for the school, correct? A para position, there's a part-time cook, I believe, and others. So if those positions are filled, obviously that would be money that we would be paying for those positions that we aren't paying right now. Fair to say?
Aside from the paraprofessional that you just hired last month, that was
okay.
The half-time cook. I'd have to check with Sheena. At one time that was in the budget, and that was a resignation or a retirement earlier this year. But I think that piece of it is still in the budget.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. It just stood out to me that comment. I want to make sure that I was on the same page and other folks were as well. Thank you.
So I guess tonight, if there was nothing set in stone, not a vote or anything, but any indications that I can relay to Charles Sanderson on any of the building bonds scope, any of the projects that the board wants to eliminate, reduce, that we probably need to know soon, so we can get started on the review and comment, as well as the anything with the scope, the dollar amount for the capital project, because that would also has to be included with the review So those are the pressing things. You still have to decide if you're gonna go 2 questions or 1 question. I would recommend going with the 1 question that was in April's with Evers. I think it's just an easier way to explain what we're doing rather than having 2 questions. But that's something in the coming months that doesn't have to be decided. The review and comment is the big thing, and that's where we need to know how much we're gonna go to the voters for and what we're gonna use the dollars for. So that's the critical stuff that we need to decide.
I guess I think discussions with Craig, someone, the boilers are 30 years old. So, I mean, right now, it looks to me we're asking for the bare minimum. I don't want to ask for the bare minimum anymore. I want to fix, if we're going to do this, if we're going to put a referendum out there, if people are going to vote on it, they need to decide whether they want a good school or not. And I'd be inclined to put whatever we need so we're not having to go back to another referendum. If they want to vote it down, they can vote it down. That's fine. But I think we should put everything on there that the school's going to need that isn't funded by the state, that we're not getting other money from or anything else. So I guess that's my view of it.
So
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I got cut out, but I came back on, and I heard you mention the boiler. And that was, I agree with you, Boyd. I don't believe that was on the list, so to speak. Is that true, Jeff, as far as?
It was in our $7+ million assessment.
Yeah.
I know we had discussed it. Dale, do you have anything you want to add as far as the old boiler? Can I remember what we had discussed, why we had taken that?
One of the things is the heads on them. Gordon Flack is long gone out of business. So if anything happens to the head, Minnesota Energy has some money available to replace just the heads on them. The blue business unit that produces the flame on the front, but they will only do it for energy efficiency. They would be looking at NOx, carbon monoxide, a lot of sensors in there. Otherwise, the actual physical boiler itself should go on for many years. You know, right now we get a reduced rate with Minnesota Energy on our natural gas because if they have a gas emergency, we can flip over to diesel. So even if we did put in high efficiency condensing boilers, we should keep one of them just to keep that lower energy, you know, the lower energy cost.
Correct, we would update some of the temperature controls.
We redid the building controls, building management system that runs a lot of our air handlers. Johnson Controls let the quiet out loud here a while back. A lot of it's pneumatic. They're going to quit supporting the pneumatics altogether because all their factories are geared to backnet devices, all computer controlled devices. So we would have about 200 plus valves to replace over the electronic, you know, coming up.
Cost estimate for the heating system in the Winseth assessment was $1.3 million. And I think,
But from what Dale said, they wouldn't need to be fully replaced, just.
No, does what Minnesota Energy, we talked to them here, what was it, last winter? Their recommendation is put new heads on them,
Okay,
which would be high efficiency heads that does all your, they'll be 100% computer controlled.
okay.
You know, for high efficiency, they would put a lot of sensors in the stacks to make sure that our carbon monoxide, nitrous oxide, excess flow air, all that is within a very narrow range. They are in the upper 80% efficient the way they are right now. Last year we forego the test on them, but we've been trying to get them tested, if not every year, every other year, to keep them tuned.
Do
To
we know
make
how
sure-
much that would be?
What's
The
that?
head?
Nope, Minnesota Energy didn't even have a number, but their recommendation was to
Sure.
replace the heads.
But boilers.
Did you say that there's
themselves,
money?
Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, did you say that there's money available from Minnesota Energy for that, or?
Yeah, but it might be like 10, 20, 25%, 50%, depending on the program, how it's administered, how they decide to do it. But they do have some money for energy efficiencies. But they're not gonna
Did
foot
we-
the, they're not gonna foot the full bill though.
It's kind of like a rebate, kind of like.
Yep. Kinda like when we
How
did
much
all
is
the
the full
LED
bill?
lighting in here, I mean, I think in the end, we got, what was it, 50-some thousand back for that. But yet we spent a couple $100,000 to get the 50,000 back, but, you know, there is some money available for that, but it doesn't foot the bill.
And maybe I missed it, but what is the full bill to change out the heads? Do we know?
Don't know.
You would have to go out to various manufacturers to see what they have available.
But everything else
Okay.
about the boilers, the tubes. I
Yep,
assume-
their water tube, they're still, you know, Byron's still in business. The water tubes are still available. They're easy to replace on this one. They're not welded in, they're bolted in.
Okay.
You know, so in theory, getting 100 years out of a commercial boiler is not unheard of, you know, if you take care of them.
Yeah. Anyone else got their 2 cents worth, or?
I think
That
that's
that was
just-
my view.
I think that's just it. It's tough to, I don't like Band-Aids at all, in any sense, but I also don't think we, you know, should be going above and beyond what we
Yeah.
can't articulate to a fine degree. You know, but I do think some of the stuff is low. I'd like to see, I mean, I don't think bus should even be taken out of technology, because I think helping us change the whole thing. Some of the stuff that we've talked about, like the sidewalk infrastructure and some of that is, I still view it as a want and not a need. But as you keep throwing salt on it, it just deteriorates every year more, and it's going to become then it is going to become a need instead of a want, just in the short term, and I really don't think we should be going back to the public in a couple of years. So I think, I'm fine with if we can come up with a realistic number, a little bit more, but we just need to be able to articulate it.
What part would the boilers?
Do you have a question, Billy? Sorry.
Actually, I have a comment. If you would.
Sorry, I just.
No, you're good.
I have a comment about the technology.
Sure.
That number that I provided is what we typically run per year. That's not much of an added amount. We're usually around 275, somewhere around there per year with the replacement schedule. That's not an additional $300,000 on top of what we currently have.
I think that's how I understood it, but maybe I never lay it
I just want, because most of the other projects are something that we need to do
on top, right?
the current budget. What I put laid out there was a cost analysis of what we currently spend per year or every year.
Okay, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because I know that the last referendum, there was a lot of questions in the community about why would I need all that much more money for the technology? And it's not. That was just to let you guys know, this is what we will be spending out of the capital fund for technology, pretty much regardless, because we have to get rid of the technology, we have to continue doing it.
Right. And again, it would help the fund balance not dip out of that for the general fund, out of that 300,000, but yeah, I understand.
Well,
With the like boiler question, or what we're talking about, would that be part of the bond or the, okay. Where to put it? Okay.
As far as the sidewalk project, I know WITSET has a model in there, but once you pass this, the board has leeway this, you're developing the first, it's gonna cost X dollars. And if it comes over budget, that's less for something down the road. You know, the tile flooring might be something to put down towards the bottom. The sidewalks might be something to put towards the bottom. And you do what you can with whatever money the taxpayers give.
What would,
I understand your concern that it's not enough, and it probably isn't. But you have to balance that with what's the appetite for local residents, people taxing these on themselves. You know,
No, I agree.
but there's definitely a need. And I think we're asking the bare minimum. We're not even asking, I mean, the little 5-year capital projects, they still have 2.8. We're not asking that much. So,
2.8 more? What we're asking?
well, I'm just looking at the total, 2.8, and then I'm just rounding numbers here. And that's over 5 years, but you run it 10 years, so you double that is what our expenses were. So, so it's more 6 million every 20 years.
And just to be clear, I'm not talking about giving us the absolute Cadillac plan or anything, but I also don't think we should just do the bare minimum. I mean, we've done a lot of things to accommodate the constituents, and even with all this, I think you said that we would still be the second lowest. Even if everything passes, would we
That
still?
was the numbers we ran last fall, that we were putting that, if it was passed, we'd still have to lose.
Yeah, so,
School property tax. And that's based on a $200,000 loan, that's based on
Yeah.
$2,024, it might have changed a little bit. But a lot of those schools are higher because they passed referendums or elections and stuff.
so I guess that's where I was kind of coming from with, I think we should ask for more, not,
what do you think? Like, what do you,
What? Yeah.
are you thinking like
What's the more?
7 and 4, or like 5 million
Yeah.
and then 4?
well, I guess right off the top of my head, I guess I was thinking of like the 5 million and 4, but it also depends on what other stuff we've left off.
Sure.
And then make sure we're covered and
That
not
would be
not
this
having to go
one,
back.
yeah. So if you look, comparing the two, I don't know why I have to do 300,000, but, if it was 4 million and then the 400,000, 228 a year, with the 5 million and the 400,000, but there's a 13 under the years, does that change as the number goes up? Probably the worst person to be talking on this, but $243, so it'd be
Yep.
less than $20 more per year if we added the million.
Yeah, this is 11, 12, and 13 years. Is that,
Put them in numbers.
and then the
That's
16
total
years?
of 12. I mean, it's probably not far off,
No.
right? One more year?
That's
I don't know.
kind of what I had
Which one
figured.
are you
It's
looking
not
at?
a,
You're looking at the 5 million.
I was looking at the 5 million, it says 13, then 2026, and then 400,000?
Yep.
Why would it have changed from
It
13?
changes,
Wow.
because if you remember when Matt was talking about the number of years, it was what makes sense.
Oh,
It's been a lot of
Remember, we're
meetings.
stacking up
Yeah.
our
yeah,
different bonds and our levies
Sure.
on top of each other.
Okay.
And
yeah.
there's kind of a point where to go more years doesn't make financial sense.
Oh, yeah,
And
and
that's the
so they
best I
stay
can
within
do.
this like window
want.
of it, yes.
yeah.
So that's why those days, those number
But
of
the
years
1 year shouldn't make it a terrible, like,
was
that's
one
not
more year to-
outside of their, like, financial.
No, I don't think they would put it on the
Okay.
start if they weren't recommending. They're not recommending, I think you can go up to 20 years on a bond, but
That's, yeah,
so
right.
they're not recommending that you do that. And he would have to explain
No, I remember, I mean, I don't remember the fine details, but I remember the piece of paper that showed when things end, when some of the previous ones drop off, kind of.
Yeah. If
And
you
then
look
the
at
last one was 4,400,000, right? Is that what the last
Yes.
vote was?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
just when I'm looking at the numbers.
Pretty sure.
I think you're better off looking at, if you're looking at part of the bond projects that you feel needs to be prioritized and added to the list, I would just go by that, pick the project, rather than just a dollar amount,
Sure.
because then the board's just gonna, or I mean, you probably have to look at this, and we're just looking for more money
Yeah.
to throw at things. I think you need to look at
Yeah.
what projects do you feel.
Well, the other kicker is all those construction project, dollar amounts are now out of date. You could probably easily add another 10% per year until they actually get done, to get them done.
And I think
They already gave us
Ross
those
Anderson
numbers.
did do the 10,
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
that's a 10% inflation.
Yep.
That's,
And that's this one.
might not be enough even.
I feel like I would prioritize walking service is the exterior. The terminology is strange. Walking service is
That's the
sidewalks. I would bump that up over flooring replacement inside.
Yeah,
I mean, it's deteriorated, it's chipping, it's,
that's the one that'll get you sued.
yes.
Yeah.
This that you're looking at, that's not a priority list.
No, I know, but I mean.
They're kind of in there though.
But they kind of are.
Yeah,
I mean,
roof replacement.
those top
exterior.
three are the top three.
And the traffic flow.
I agree with, well, if I could. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with what Jeff was saying as far as relooking at the project list. I feel like we go back and forth on a regular basis. I am also of the general consensus too that we do not want to under budget some of these projects, and my biggest concern is for the projects that we haven't thought of, or that for what might come or what might break unexpectedly. You know, an air conditioning unit. We don't have anything in the budget, you know, for something unexpectedly, and I would presume that we're not in a financial situation that if we had to replace a couple units on top of the roof, air conditioning, for example, we'd be fine to do that. And so a lot of these projects that we're looking at, we've narrowed it down to these are the needed projects to save the building, to keep our school district afloat. But we haven't really, we don't have much cushion in there for the budget as far as for unexpected repairs, and I think it's just not necessarily wise as an individual, if we don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, so to speak, and have something set aside. And so, moral of the story is that thought brings me back to what Boyd was suggesting is we know year after year these costs are going to go up, whether it's materials or labor, and we know we've already cut so many projects off the list. So I'm not completely balking at the percentage increase based on, like, you know, what we can project as, you know, inflation. And I think they did that, right? Maybe I missed what you guys were talking about. Did Kraus Anderson already add that 10% in?
Yes.
If I recall at that meeting.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it is budgeted in there, but I don't, that's the part that makes me uncomfortable, is not just finding having actual money set aside and doing that smartly too, so we can have money there when something breaks, because something will, right? And otherwise, we're going to be begging, borrowing from one project to save this, immediate need, and then we're going to be sacrificing that other project, and then we didn't do a good job of budgeting and setting money aside. So,
Well, I know that was one of the criticisms the previous board had received, was that, well, how come you haven't been budgeting for repairs and for exactly what you're saying? And it's the exact reason. It's like, well, when you live paycheck to paycheck, this is how it goes. I mean, there was no room to save any money. It was for the roof. That's what it was.
We talk about chillers and boilers. We have our long-term facility maintenance revenue stream. Certain projects, there's within limits, the board can levy. So like if we had a chiller project, we had $300,000. There's a mechanism, MDE, to levy those without the board approval. So that's another reason why we boilers, because that would be something that the boiler all of a sudden craps out. You do have that to apply through MDE. This is our need, and get authority to levy to cover those expenses.
And does that affect the taxes?
Yes, that's,
Okay,
it's a levy, it's
so
another
when-
levy, but it's board approved.
So when I was in Pillager, when I worked there, there was the referendum and they were going through all of that, and they had compared what you would pay if, because they, again, same thing, roof, all that stuff going on. They would compare like, okay, here's what your taxes would look like, similar to this. If it passed, here's what the levy would be, because it is like a needed thing. So they were like projecting what it would look like to get that levy, like, here's what it would be essentially without a vote as well, because of like how it's
I think the taxpayers
impacted.
come out ahead if you put it with the bonds,
Right,
rather than a straight levy. Because
Yeah.
the bond is, it's 300,000. If it's on the bonds, that's spread out over 12 years.
yeah.
Whereas the levy is, you're paying it as you go, so. But if you're making decisions on emergency things versus what do we
Right.
need to replace versus an
Yeah.
emergency, you
There
need to weigh
there
that
are
out.
options.
If you want to put the boiler on.
yeah,
Well, I wouldn't
One
necessarily
point
put,
three.
the board.
Then you want to plan on,
I'm
our
more so
plan is to
thinking
replace them and update them.
the, like what we were talking about, like not the complete boiler replacement, because if we're getting a recommendation from Minnesota Energy on like what would make the most sense.
Yeah,
I mean, but still
Yeah.
with like other like, increases and like things we've talked about, then I think the 5 million sounds like it would more cover it. More so,
That's
cover it.
what I totally see us needing more, because the 4 million was based on just
Yep.
getting by.
Yep,
Well, but just this inflation.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the lag time between when you actually get the money. So,
Well, we've beat it to a dead horse regarding what we could have done, or what could have been done last go around far as the yes, vote yes for, and making a video or articulating something better, or so that, I think if, as long as we're able to do that, we should try and secure that, or at least be within,
yep.
means that we tamed.
I mean, my kind of final thought with this is there's nobody who's looking forward to, paying more when they write the check for, their taxes through this. But I feel pretty strongly that we have to, as a board, we have to make decisions for our building and and moving forward. And I know that's often the question I have is like, why aren't we coming up with ideas? Why are we not saving for when there's a project? And why are we just, I don't like the idea of just, well, if something breaks, we'll just go and get a loan, push through the levy. I feel like we have an opportunity to be more responsible with our money going forward. And if there's one thing that I'm going to do to the best of my ability is to ensure that this money is spent only where it needs to be. And if there is, and I feel like we should set up some form of a project reserve. I'll be honest, I mean, if Minnesota Energy is saying that, these boilers, the head units, that's the recommendation, but we don't have a quote for that, it's clear, it must not be in WinSeth's workup, correct?
No, they just had the whole
Yeah.
replacement, I think.
So, that's something that I've heard, folks who are knowledgeable about the boiler talk about it. It's a project, if we have backups if one of them goes down, I understand that, but we should be taking care of our facility proactively and not waiting for it to fail and then go after a levy. I don't think that's responsible. There are other lists, project lists. I think that it's been cut down considerably. I don't think it's wise to go and invite some of those other projects that have already been cut down back onto the table. But I do think it's wise to, for the projects we do have on the table, to ensure that we're going to actually have the money to fulfill those projects, because we cannot predict inflation, right? We all know it's going up. We've all experienced that. And the other part is we can't predict when we're going to have a high dollar cost. We can do our best, in something with maintenance that needs to be taken care of. We can do our best to maintain it as it goes on. But I think we need to be responsible and not cutting us short. And it really stands out to me, Jeff, when you had spoke about, even if this passes, even if the community supports the levy, the referendum moving forward, we're still, I believe you said the second least funded, district, in northern Minnesota. So I don't like that. And I would support looking at that 5 million mark. I tried my best to pay attention when WinSeth was here, or our Kraus Anderson, was talking about it, and we had that presentation. When you look at it, and I think that's what Robin was pointing out earlier, the increase in the ask doesn't equate, to a super substantial increase in the amount that we'd be asking from the taxpayers. I think one of them was like $8 more or something like that, and I don't have the chart in front of me, so I apologize. After thinking about it, learning more about it, I do not want to, I don't want to shortchange us. So I would be a proponent of increasing that ask up to the 5 over the 4. And I know this is just a discussion here today, but that's where my thought is.
I guess one other discussion point, we've completely are foregoing the operating levy. Teachers have been very generous in their contract. There were 3% raises per year. I'll tell you right now, we're going to have to pay attention, because I don't want to fall behind in our teacher pay.
Well,
It's going to come back. It's going to cost sooner or later, and we're leaving that part out, and just don't forget about it.
I agree.
Operating referendum has to be done in November,
Okay.
so you cannot.
So we can't add that onto this one. But either way, we weren't going to anyway. Even on the last one, we didn't put that on. So, or it was on there, but, all I'm saying is, don't forget, we still have to pay everybody, and right now, as I recall from the contracts, all the unions were pretty generous to the school. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess that's the question, right? Are we doing the 5 or higher?
You know what I think?
I think we're all in agreement to at least move to 5 and 4, right?
At least 5 and 4.
So are we going 5 and 4, or are we going higher?
I don't feel comfortable going higher,
Yeah,
just based on where we are at and all the changes that are going on and how much work we're already going to have to do with the community and really driving this home to get a vote. I understand, like, yes, I mean, you can vote no, but I really want it to be an easy yes for people to, like,
I agree with you.
help us out.
I agree with you, Caleb. If we want to get the school repaired as it should be repaired, put one thing on the ballot and one thing only, the bond issue. Get that taken care of, then go for the rest. It's needed, I admit it, but, and I'm not gonna put this in the paper, I'm not gonna use the paper as a pulpit. But this is something that I feel very strongly about. We should be concentrating on one thing. Get the building, get the grounds, get everything right. We get that, go back and say, okay, we need this other equipment now. It's starting to deteriorate too. But see how we do the job first. You know, get the bond issue going.
The only problem I can foresee with that is if we just go with the bond, and I do think this should be put on as like, even if we go for both, it should just be one question.
Yes.
Because what's gonna happen is if we say we pass the bond and then we go for another one, the vast majority of the people are going, we just passed it, now you guys are asking for more?
5 and 4.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, and I meant like 5 and 4.
I agree with you, Boyd.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I think that got misinterpreted.
I agree
Yeah.
with all that. I think what we have the advantage of, like Jeff mentioned, other entities within the county can pick and choose when they need more money. And I know, speaking for myself, we get your post taxes, and it's been anywhere from 16 to 38% in the last 3 years, every year. And all you get out of them is, well, it's an algorithm in a computer. We can articulate what we're spending money for, what we're asking for, versus just saying, well, it's what the computer said. You know, and it's 30-40%.
Yep.
And but with that being said, I don't see that changing either on the county side. And then how do we go back 4 or 5 years from now and ask for more money when the county has also been plugging the computer up and up 40% for some of these properties as well? Because then people are going to look at it and say, no.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should go over the 5 and 4, but I think we need to.
So we just go around and say, are we in agreement with 5 and 4 and then go from there?
We knew that.
Where we're at.
That's what I was proposing.
Or
Yep.
I mean, this isn't a vote, this is just letting us
But I
know.
think
Well, we're gonna
Kraus
get this number
Anderson
down.
needs to know.
Number down, we'll talk.
Is Craig trying to say something?
Because, right, is the number more
Um,
further of your comment?
No, the other point that I think is
Yes.
the talking point, so to speak, that we should all be remembering, I think Jeff had mentioned it earlier, and it was about the alternative to the future here. If we do not secure this funding, it's going to be detrimental to the kids. It's going to end up in increasing class sizes, and which will probably end up reducing the amount of staff and teachers. When you start reducing our staff and teachers even more, we're losing parents and kids and good teachers from our school. And all of a sudden, we start to spiral as a school district and as a school, and we become smaller and smaller at an exponential rate. And we don't come back from that. So I mean, it
I
really,
agree wholeheartedly with you. So,
Yeah, I think we're all on the same
I think
page.
we're all on the same
I
page.
think so.
We weren't, speak up.
Tell them 5 and 4.
5 and 4, one question.
I'm in agreement with that as well. For 1 and 2.
Communicate that with Kraus Anderson, Eller, Steve, and we'll go from there, and I'll get their thoughts on what to do with the solar and stuff.
Okay.
Because a lot of time, if you look at the verbiage, it will say specific project, but there's also other things that are a little more broad and I don't want to consider vague, but where you don't have to list specific every little detail, but the ones that we have listed definitely, and then adding to that list on if there's money, these are the next one. You know, because that's something that they've talked to you about when you start going out to the board and being able to say, this is specifically what the dollars were owed.
Yeah, good enough.
Did we complete what we needed to for this meeting today? You seem unsure.
It sounded like we were in agreement with
I wasn't sure
the
if
two
there
combined
was
into one
something.
question as well,
Yeah.
correct? Yep.
Yeah,
So,
Two combined into one.
with the one question.
correct.
I agree.
5 and 4.
Yep.
I was working on tax impact, and I'll get feedback from Jason and Tracy as far as review and comment,
Okay,
and hopefully we'll see.
so
I
then,
can't guarantee we'll have the basics about the review and comment, but I don't think the review and comment will be ready for your review at the main board meeting.
but we can do a special, do we have to have like a?
No, all you have to do at May is direct me to move forward with submitting the review and comment. That's
Oh,
what you have.
that's the action.
That's the
Yeah.
action.
We're good then.
Okay,
Awesome.
Okay,
okay,
anything else? Going once?
No.
Going twice? Close the meeting at 6:45.